Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. You're welcome to the Energy Africa Café podcast conversational series dedicated to African professionals in leadership positions within the renewable energy sector. We will delve into their experiences, their challenges, providing a platform for shared wisdom and fostering a community of empowerment. My name is Tosin George, and I'm your host for today. And I'm very excited to bring to you our very first guest for this podcast. She's no other person than Lolade Abiola. Lolade is the program manager at Sustainable Energy for All. Ms. Lolade Abiola, you're welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Tosin.
You're welcome. So just a brief bio on Ms. Lolade Abiola's experience in this space. Lolade Abiola is a recognized leader with over 15 years of experience in African energy transition. And this experience has been garnered in the renewable energy policy sectors, project management, and stakeholder engagement as well. Like I shared earlier, she's currently serving as the program manager at the Sustainable Energy for All under United Nations Office of Project Services, and she plays a very key role in supporting the federal government's implementation of Nigeria's energy transition plan. It will interest you to know that our career has also spanned the aviation and energy sectors. She's held senior managerial, project management, and advisory roles in both the public and private sectors. And she's been a technical advisor to the Vice President of Nigeria, where she was instrumental in developing regulations and programs that accelerated the growth of renewable energy and improved access to financial inclusion strategies. So that's so amazing. She's previously led the mini-grid component of the Nigerian off-grid electrification project in partnership with the World Bank, overseeing renewable energy deployment to universities, economic clusters, and households. And before that, she was the project lead for the Lagos State Electricity Board, where she managed the Lagos Solar Project, which delivered 5 megawatts of embedded solar power to 172 schools and 33 healthcare centers in rural and riverine communities. Powerful, powerful, powerful profile, Ms. Lolade. Thank you so much again for, joining us today. And, just to get a sense of your background, because you have such a very interesting background, being that you started with I think you did a BSc in computer science and information management. You also had some experience in the aviation sector, and a little birdie told me that you're a certified helicopter pilot. So it's just an interesting thing that you have this background and you're doing this in the sustainable energy space. So what's the connection, right? How did you come from that background into the sustainable energy space in Africa?
Short answer, no idea. No, serious note. I mean, first of all, thank you for giving me such a great sort of introduction with my bio. I'm so used to kind of just, delving deep into work and just, making change and doing as much as I can without sort of sitting back and kind of reading through what I've done. So thank you so much for doing that. I mean, I'm really happy to talk about this because this is something that I guess when I was growing up and studying, there was always this thing that, you have to build yourself in one particular field of expertise, over a very long time, to be able to say that you're an expert in that area. And that shows that there is some sort of, stability in your planning in regards to your career trajectory. So my story is kind of a little bit all over the place. I mean, I've always been a keen learner, very versatile, with very seemingly random skill sets. Speak Spanish fluently. So, I mean, you would think I would choose French because obviously in Africa, it's a language that, a lot of, Francophone countries, but yes, exactly. So, I mean, I speak Spanish fluently. I speak Arabic. I speak Yoruba, so I've always had a knack for languages. And then with regards to computer science, I mean, sort of sitting in the labs, coding. I mean, one of my projects was building a natural language database to an interface, which I believe is the first Siri, because that's what I did ages ago. And then software engineering. And it's sort of that taught me the importance of accuracy and diligence and precision. And then if you now move on to my other seemingly random foray into the world of aviation and aeronautics. That again was in addition to diligence and precision that, I developed, in my previous degree. I also developed my planning and project management skills, managing complex and dynamic projects that span a diverse range within the aviation and aeronautics space. One of my courses was, in airport design and management, and really understanding how to link end user requirements and provide functional spaces that were fit for purpose. So connection and threads between those courses. But I think when I started off in the renewable energy space, as you mentioned, and Lagos Electricity Board, it really was putting on my project management hat, because I was like, you know what, this is a task that we have to do. Very interesting, because I'm so used to learning new things and, slightly technical as well. I thought, and I enjoyed challenges and complex projects. So that was something that I really enjoyed doing. And it just allowed me to, really showcase my skill set. But when I knew I was onto something was when it seemed that all my seemingly random skill sets, managing complex projects, using data, technology, all of that could actually be used to literally save lives and deeply impact the lives of people who lack such a significant need, that is energy. And many of us, take this for granted. I'm originally from Lagos State, and to see, you're currently in Lagos. Even though there isn't enough of it, we make do. We have our, generators. Some of us that have our solar systems, we have that. But when working and connecting those primary healthcare centers, we truly realizing that saving the lives of mothers that were, they were giving birth, maternal mortality rate dropping as well. When the larger healthcare institutions were flooding and coming into those primary healthcare centers because they had power, they could cool their vaccines. When they had surgeries or emergencies, they had power. So for me, it was deeply impactful. And I think it awakened this advocacy side of myself as well, because I can only speak for myself, but I'm incredibly privileged as an African, and being in a position to advocate using my skill sets and everything that I've learned and the experience that I've learned, to advocate for those that we're not even talking about having a seat on the table. These people don't even know the table exists, right? So for me, I feel such a great honor and privilege, and it's exciting to wake up every day knowing that what I do actually matters, because I think all of us deep down inside want to know that what we do matters, right? And it has an impact in one way, shape, or form. And having that purpose and that drive is what makes those kind of difficult days when you're grinding and it just seems like, oh, it's too much. It just knows that everything, works out for a reason. And so in a way that was kind of, full circle why I'm in this space, and I love it so much, and it gives me so much joy.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lolade, for that. The impact of energy here, being that in Africa we have issues and problems, challenges with energy access. So being able to come from that background and put all of that skill set into delivering impactful programs, it's such an amazing thing to do. So I know you mentioned something about advocacy, and I understand that you are a strong advocate for scaling Africa's renewable energy manufacturing sector, partly through initiatives such as the African Renewable Energy Manufacturing Initiative and the Project Evergreen City in Nigeria. So what are some of these technologies? I don't know if I should call them breakthrough technologies or probably just regular technologies that you believe can transform the African energy landscape. And do you think, or how important do you think local innovation is crucial in this process?
Thank you so much. This is really, really important. And now we're getting to the good stuff, right? And if we talk about just the renewable energy landscape, what I love about it so much, as well as the sustainable development as a whole, is that, there is this rapid pace of innovation. We talked about me loving technology and all of that. We live in such a fast-paced, reality. People are innovating day in, day out. From when I started in 2016, we in the Nigerian government rolled out, and I was leading that project, solar home systems across 200,000 households in northern Nigeria. It seemed like, wow, this was such an innovative technology, like solar home systems, game changer. And that was so impactful, right? Because, people were still using kerosene lanterns in a lot of villages. One of the villages that I went to, because I went around, did a lot of field work, was Wuna, just outside of Abuja. And, these were amazing, one of the best Nigerians out there, because hardworking, farmers, they were even offering us gifts when we went there, and they were using kerosene lanterns. So solar systems back where the solutions then tier one, novel technology, very niche, but we're moving past that, right? Because initially, even before that, it was solar lanterns. And I was like, wow, solar lanterns. But again, we're evolving and the energy needs of people. And just, again, that just element of, the modern energy minimum and how, Africans deserve a lot more energy than, it's sometimes provided with these technologies. It is fueling this innovation. Then we're looking at solar mini grids, as you mentioned. I led the mini grid component of the Nigeria electrification project at the Rural Electrification Agency, and just using mini grids to power communities, using smart meters, pay-as-you-go systems as well to ensure that people get to increase the affordability for people, utilizing sort of financial inclusion as well, because I had to do a lot of work with the telcos as well to ensure that at least they were able to kind of come up and develop innovative systems to allow those, without access to the banking systems to be able to make payments. And so those sort of technologies are constantly evolving. So from your standard solar mini grids, now you have interconnected mini grids, which, for those peri-urban communities that, we haven't been able to extend the grid to, or that maybe grid extension is just not financially viable. And then now we're looking at mesh grids. So within that sort of energy power space, there's so much going on there. And what I love about it is that, when we talk about manufacturing within that ecosystem, Nigerians, as I said, we don't carry last, right? We are moving, we are part of it. It's difficult, it's hard, it's so expensive. You want to quit every day, but that's what I love, the tenacity of the Nigerian spirit, that we just keep moving because the demand is there. And that's the thing, we see the opportunities there. So it's just about sort of navigating. So you have a lot of great companies that are already sort of even assembling solar home systems, because I know when we talk about renewable energy manufacturing and the technologies, a lot of people say, oh no, you can't compete with some of the larger countries in the global south or global north, why don't you just kind of find a way? And it's like, no, at least we'll start somewhere. Everyone starts somewhere. So even if it's assembly, people are assembling, companies assembling solar panels. I don't want to name names, but I know I've been to some of these, organizations and companies, and I know what they're doing, and I know that it's impactful. And the fact that, there are programs that the federal government is supporting, such as the DARES program, the World Bank supported DARES program, that is stimulating demand. So there are opportunities there within that space. And I talked about sort of innovative financing solutions, using, pay-as-you-go systems and mobile money and things like that. Other technologies and innovations that are really going to help to catalyze the sector. I think I also want to talk about clean cooking, because as you mentioned as well previously, leading Nigeria's energy transition office, supporting in, the implementation and the true embedding of Nigeria's energy transition plan across all sectors, across the 5 sectors, which is power, clean cooking, e-mobility. It's important for me to kind of touch a little bit up on these components, because there is so much that can be done. And, the innovation that we're seeing is really impacting those spaces with regards to energy transition. If you look at clean cooking, for example, that is not getting, half as much as of the focus that it needs to have. So we still have well over 170 million Nigerians that do not have access to clean cooking. Again, as a woman, this is something that is really, really important to me, that touches me, because, women and young girls are out of school because they're having to fetch firewood. I know it all sounds doom and gloom, but these are realities in Nigeria, because it's very easy. I was like that before. You think Lagos is Nigeria, right?
Yeah,
everything else, everything is great. We're doing well. Don't talk about this or that. But hey, there's a lot going on. Over 200 million Nigerians. A lot of people, good proportion of them, do not have the luxury that many of us have. So talking about clean cooking, there's a lot of exciting stuff going on in that space. Obviously, there's all the different technologies, LPGs there. But what I'm really, really excited about is some of the innovation around electric cook stoves, using solar cook stove, actually, using battery swap technologies. And what I love about that is that interlinkage with e-mobility as well, because some of the batteries can be used for electric 2-wheelers and 3-wheelers and for cooling. And I know one of your team members works within the battery space, the battery energy storage system space. There's so much exciting stuff happening in there. I remember when I first started off with the Lagos Solar Project, we're using these Rolls batteries. They were top of the line batteries. Very, very heavy, extremely good, very heavy. But now the innovation and technology has changed. You still have the efficacy of these sort of batteries, but they're smaller, they're more compact. You can do so much with them. So that you have, battery technologies to store energy that you can use across e-mobility, clean cooking power. You're creating new clean energy businesses, just new innovation within that space that people can tap into. The guy that's selling Mishai, could be using a solar cook stove and could also have a battery, a phone charging business on the side. Can also, you can almost have these energy hubs, and then, if it's service center, and then maybe providing some sort of healthcare support on the side as well. There's so much that can be done. And I think, Nigeria is truly primed for that. And then finally, I think the need for data as well. Part of my skill set as well is that analytical piece as well. And ensuring that we have investment grade data is really, really essential in reducing project development costs. And the spatial mapping and things like that. And SEforALL, we have the integrated energy planning tool, which really provides that. And there are a lot of other, organizations that have their tools as well. It's important to kind of mention this as well. And then finally, to touch on renewable energy manufacturing. I think there is no choice but to innovate, right? And I think what is also really important is to tie in that piece of the fact that a lot of the critical minerals that are required for these energy transition technologies are here in Africa, right? And unfortunately, over the years, we have sort of relinquished or not been able to tap into that opportunity to play more of a pivotal role within the value chain for some of these technologies, be it in battery manufacturing or solar panels, PVs, or even electric mobility. We're seeing a lot of that, at least with the assembly piece coming on board. But this is where the sort of advocacy piece comes in, and programs like the Africa Renewable Energy Manufacturing come in to see how can we support across policy, access to finance, ensuring that we're able to get the right sort of technical partners to pass on that knowledge and build capacity to empower and enable, Nigerians or even across Africa, companies to be able to really start to play a role within this space.
But this is amazing. And thank you so much for sharing this with us. I know that you've held several leadership positions for both technical projects. You've worked as an advisor, a program manager, including your current role at SEforALL, and even your previous role as the head of mini-grid component for the Nigerian off-grid electrification project. So with such impactful roles that have helped shape policies that directly influence renewable energy growth and communities in Africa, specifically in Nigeria, what do you think is the most effective way to align the political will of governments with sustainable energy goals? Because you hear year on year, we have new targets, we have new goals, but when you track these things, it's not exactly aligned. Not much is done to ensure that these targets are reached. So what's the most effective way you think is best to align political will with governments, or political will of governments rather?
Thanks for this, Tosin. And this is a very interesting question, and I hear you on, the fact that we do share that there are a lot of policies that are being developed continuously, but almost sort of want to object a little bit or to your reservation as regards to nothing much is being done. I think there are a lot of moving parts here. And this is where communication really plays a very key role. And that's why I'm happy to be on this podcast with you, because if this is a way, another avenue to be able to sort of showcase and highlight what the government in Nigeria is doing, what many governments are trying to do within this space. As I had mentioned, as with technology, as with everything, the things are constantly evolving. Their political transitions, their changes in priorities, depending on what is happening both nationally and internationally, which I'm not going to get into that. But I think we cannot overemphasize the importance of continuous stakeholder engagements and communications. And this is across all levels of government, with various bodies, maybe starting from the presidential level to the ministerial level, down to the subnationals, the civil service, and then looking at groups such as academia, civil society, the private sector. It's important that everybody's carried along, and so that we all hold ourselves accountable. And then we really use communications, we use digital media, the websites, everything that we have to, in order to showcase and highlight some of the key achievements. If I go all the way to SDG 7, right, there's backsliding. We're not going to be able to reach our targets. That's why you're having sort of massive commitments, and not just commitments on paper, action, high commitments by organizations such as the World Bank and Rockefeller Foundation, and Africa Development Bank, recently launched Mission 300, which is the target to electrify 300 million Africans by 2030, and which is aligned with the Sustainable Development Goal 7. And so coming back to Nigeria and how we can continuously engage with stakeholders, this is something that we had to do when, the energy transition plan was launched. We didn't want it to be another plan or seemingly unattainable target. We wanted to tie it to actionable progress. This is what is being done across the 5 sectors that have been delineated in the plan, and working with the real government infrastructure, everybody in their understanding and kind of putting that message out there. I know, and I'm sure you do as well, Nigerians are technically sound and capable of designing well-crafted policies to nurture growing markets. I think in addition to clearly articulating and amplifying these policies, there is a need for harmonization, especially where there are ambiguities or room for misinterpretation, because sometimes, we put a plan out there, but things have changed globally, and there is no interlinkages. And I think that is a lot of that harmonization is a lot of what some of the organizations and the institutions within government are trying to do. National Climate and Council Change is doing their bit, and the Ministry of Environment is doing their bit. Everyone is kind of coming together and realizing that, look, if we are going to try and meet our electrification goals by 2030, this is something that we need to take seriously. If I go back to Mission 300, Nigeria, as well as 12 initial pilot countries, develop their own energy compacts, which really are documents that showcase, look, this is what we are going to, it's across 5 pillars. And these are our commitments with regards to the policy reforms that need to be put in place, the financial requirements, that we need, and where these investments need to go to in order for us to reach our energy access target. In addition to everything that's happened, I think it's a culmination of everything within the space. It speaks to what the government is trying to do. So this is, in essence, one way of harmonizing those policies as well. But like I said, cannot overemphasize continuous stakeholder engagement, working with everyone, pulling everybody on board. Everybody has their own, their own ideas on how they can support and how they can move things forward. Some may have blind spots that need to be highlighted by others. We need to hold each other accountable. And it's just that continuous momentum and building it. And then having this communicated to everyone, right? It's not just those that are technically within the space. The constitutional amendment with regards to states now being able to generate and distribute their own power. States can decide on how they're going to electrify their people, right? And I think it's absolutely massive. And that, again, is showing how government is opening up the market for innovation, opening up the market for private sector to work with government in order to electrify their people. Sustainable Energy for All supported Lagos State in developing diesel genset study to really understand how much diesel genset capacity is in Lagos State. And, the study showed about 19 gigawatts of installed generator capacity is in Lagos. Imagine if we displace all generators. Exactly, Lagos alone, whereas on the grid, we kind of struggle between 4 and 5. So imagine displacing all those generators with innovation, strengthening transmission, coming up with IPPs, all what is required. And this ties back into the data. This ties back into how the policy amendments have opened up the opportunity for states to be kind of start thinking out of the box and how they can work with private sector and all the other players and actors within the space in order to reach our target. So it all comes together, right? And again, it's that communication, it's that engagement, it's that stakeholder, and really looking inside, right? Because I'm a huge advocate of let's maximize all the amazing capacity, the goodwill that we have in country, and that will catalyze additional funding and whatever is required outside. And I think policy is where that starts, right? A lot of concerted effort is going into that space.
Thank you so much for that, Ms. Lolade. Something I also wanted to just want you to sort of share a bit more about is, I know that you've done a lot of projects in rural communities, very urban communities, and we all understand that renewable energy has the potential to create not just environmental benefits, but also socioeconomic ones. So would you mind sharing a bit more around some of the projects you've had the opportunity to sort of lead, and what impact has been generated as a result of this project that you've led?
Yeah, I think in the course of our conversation, I've touched a little bit about this. It's a blessing in one sense to actually be able to physically be on ground and implement, right? In December, I had the opportunity of going to Sierra Leone, where, our organization is supporting the government in developing mini grids and just electrifying healthcare facilities. And there's one thing seeing it in Nigeria, and I saw that, several years back on the Lagos Solar project with the primary healthcare centers. There's another thing going to a different country, a completely different culture, but it's still the same thing, right? We were welcomed by a row of nurses just singing and clapping. And when we were asking, what they were singing about, it was basically a child is not going to die. Like it's a song that they clap and they sing when a woman is able to give birth, because we just take for granted how, there's no light. Some of these nurses and midwives are using their mobile phone light just to see when the lady is giving birth. So just seeing the impact of how well lit those hospitals were, amazing unsung heroes, the doctors and nurses. Even without electricity, we're able to try and save lives. But now they're so happy they can do their jobs, they can make impact, they can make change. So for me, that was really, 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 really impactful, seeing that in a different country, in a different setting. If I go to another side as well, looking at the recent clean cooking showcase that was held in Lagos State for the deployment of solar cook stoves to market women in foreign markets. I thought that was fantastic as well. But it's very easy to be cynical. Like, oh gosh, solar cook stove, you guys have come against your
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. I'm like, to disrupt the market, you have to do things that maybe seemingly don't make sense until they start making sense. For me, with the clean cooking showcase, it was just amazing to see like the women and to hear their stories, right? This woman was like, look, I don't have to change my clothes anymore because she used to make agbo.
Okay.
I don't know how far the reach is, but you do that work and explain what agbo is. I'm not gonna do that. But she's there using her firewood. She's covered in soot and everything. God knows the equivalent number of cigarettes that she has inhaled just because of the smoke from the firewood. Another lady that was cooking, she's like, look, my meat boils so quickly. I just have to sit back, relax. I don't have to do anything. My life is good. It's sweet. I love this, And within that Singaporean market, we have the Universal Energy Facility. It's a program that provides grant funding for clean energy solution. And they're also powering parts of that market. And there are some ladies that, they're selling, they don't need their generators anymore. When I went there, I was like, wow, I'm so quiet. Because you just see like a pile of gen sets just in the corner. Another story, we're going to recycle them, which is something that we're also looking at. But the fact that, those health benefits that people take for granted, noise pollution, air pollution, are just giving women that peace that they can turn their business around, and just that financial impact as well. I think, it's just incredible. So those are just a few of the very, very, very many experiences I've had, not just in Nigeria, but, across the continent as well.
Yeah, those are cool stories, and it tells a lot of the impact of how seemingly something as simple as a cook stove can, just impact people across different communities. To round off the podcast, would like to ask you a fun question and perhaps a word of advice for young people who are looking to join the space. So the fun question is, if you could spend a month in any location powered entirely by renewable energy, where would it be and what eco-friendly activities would you indulge in?
So as I mentioned, I like this question just because it just shows, again, my versatility and my seemingly random nature, which I have now grown to embrace. I would say Zanzibar in Tanzania. And I think in my other life, or what I love to do, I love nature. Like I truly am obsessed with, conservation and greening and plants and just ecosystems, right? So definitely I would get my green thumb out, I'll get my hands dirty in some, conservation work, planting, using renewable energy and, for irrigation, anything to do with growing, planting, all of that, seeing how we can ensure that, the ocean, this is my Greenpeace hat on. I know it seems very kind of like out there, but I truly get my joy from nature. That's my happy place. I'm restoring, I'm helping to regenerate and using renewable energy to source from the sun. Why not, to be able to continue to conserve and ensure that it's it's a place that can be enjoyed by many people.
Yeah, I can already imagine that. So, lastly, what will be your advice to young people in the space for those who are trying to pursue career in the energy access and development spaces, and even for those who've spent some years in the space? What would be your word of advice to them?
Gosh, word of advice. Again, an open mind. I think it's very, very important to, I know it seems very generic, an open mind and willingness to learn and to absorb and just know that, first of all, it doesn't matter what your background is, where you're coming from, if you're pivoting careers, because again, they're innate skill sets that we all have that can be applied to anywhere. And already knowing that you are useful and the space needs you is one, right? Regardless of if you're a scientist or mathematician or, if you're a blogger, because I've talked about comms, I've talked about technology, I've talked about, data, I've talked about project managing, infrastructure development. These are all the skill sets that I need because and languages as well, absolutely, because you have to connect with people, right? You have to be able to kind of open that door. So I think definitely it's just having that open mind, coming with your skill sets and delving in, because there's so many layers. It's not just for those that have studied renewable energy technologies or, they have a master's in XYZ. There's a role for everyone to play, and let's utilize technology and to find out what's going on, what's happening, and how can we help our continent and help our people, because energy access is really it's becoming more and more, ever more an African problem rather than a global problem, because we have over 600 million Africans without access to electricity. So we need more people to come in here with their unique skill sets, with an open mind, with a drive and a zeal to advocate and to fight and have that fire behind them to say, whatever it is I'm doing with whatever skill set I have, it is essentially to help those that do not have the opportunities that I do, and to basically just be there and be amazing. There's lots of people and lots of resources and lots of areas that you can come in to be able to make an impact in this space.
Thank you. Those are amazing words. Thank you so much, Lolade. And that's a wrap for today's episode. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to follow us on our LinkedIn pages and other social media platforms at the Energy Africa. Thank you so much for listening in. Do take care and bye-bye.